You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. Paul and I are your hosts. You're going to have to figure out what my name is along the way if you haven't heard us before. But anyways, we're going to explore the world of classic gaming and the nostalgia that they bring. And in this episode, we are going to Babylon about Technobabylon, which is a great joke that I was hoping I could shoehorn in pretty early in the episode.
Wow. I told you get 5 of them. I think you used 3 already. So
that one was worth more than one for sure.
I just got this sudden urge. I think we should try an intro with like a 90s rap beat.
Like you do like the
like real cheesy on the nose and be like, my name is Paul and I'm here to say I'm gonna do a rap in a terrible way. Or something like
We'll talk about games and we'll talk about fun and Technobabylon today. That's the one.
Wow, very well done. Damn, I just been legally served.
But yeah, this is a game that's actually done by Wadjet Games, which I thought was super cool. I didn't know anything about this game when Paul recommended it to me. It was done by a writer, James Dearden, art by Ben Chandler, who's done a bunch of other art for Wadjet and is super duper talented. And I don't know that there was ever much else done by James Dearden. I know that he was thinking of doing a second one that was going to come out in 2020, and we can touch on that a little bit later on. But as far as I know, although the game was left a tiny bit open-ended, spoilers ahead, not necessarily now. It was a really solid, fun game, and I was super happy, Paul, that you recommended it to me.
I'm super glad that you liked it. It's I got to play it 2 times in a sense, because I played 3/4 of it, let's say, a couple of years ago, which led me to recommend it to you, and then ended up replaying it with my son, my 8-year-old son, who just adored it and can actually get into later as to the things that kept him interested at his age with a point and click, besides my indoctrination of point and clicks into his life since he was a wee child. You might even call it brainwashing. But either way, he was there for it and he liked it. And yeah, this game's amazing. Where do we bloody start?
Well, I will start by saying some of the reviews I read about this game said it was too dark or too violent or a little bit too gritty for their taste. So it made me laugh that you led with, my kid loves this game. It's just great.
Well,
it's got so much appeal though, especially in the beginning, because there's some characters you meet that it doesn't matter who's in the room. They're going to be looking at you and going, what the heck is going on there? Right. So.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
in a good way.
I had to throw a beanie at my cat. He was chewing on loud plastic. It was a soft beanie. The softest. I only throw the softest of beanie caps at my feline.
I usually throw socks, and Tucker looks so offended when I do it. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you've done that. I'm just gonna. It works, right? But they're very offended.
I just got the. It's like the feline equivalent to being like unfollowed or unfriended. It just looks at you like, no, you're blocked.
No.
It was I feel smaller of a person. I feel a little guilty because of the way he looked at me. Anyway, enough about that.
Well, and all the listeners will also be looking at the both of us. No, normally I've just used a spray bottle. It's fine. My cat's old. He's tougher than I am. It's okay.
Yeah, mine has no excuse. But it's fine. They're all bad people in a certain sense.
Nobody wants to hear about my cat. You know what? I'm going to tell you and the audience, I bought him a giant litter box, but I said to Paul yesterday, I was worried it wouldn't help the problem, which was he couldn't turn all the way around. So he was, messing it up on the sides and it wasn't very good. So anyways, I got him a bigger one. And guess what, folks? He's going right in the center of the box. Oh. And I'm scooping it up and pulling it out, and it's working super great. And it's the best thing I've ever done. So if you have a cat, get a giant litter box.
Well, links in the description
for the hand. Oh yeah, like Amazon or something. This is just, oh my God. We've been having this problem for years. He is a messy old cat, right? He's like 19 years old, and he needed more room, man.
Well, I appreciated the large tonal shift at the ending. You're like, and then we got this thing because he always does that, and actually it worked really nice, and the solution was perfect.
No, I was worried it wouldn't. I was like, won't I be surprised when it doesn't work at all? But no, that was it. I don't usually talk about myself. That was fun. If anybody liked it, let us know, or I'll never do it again.
there's moments like this where I'm like, I wonder, like, is James Dearden or Dave Gilbert, is anybody, Ben Chandler, they're going to be listening to this? And this will be the point in the episode where they'll be like,
No.
okay, well, I'm good. I tried. I guess this is not about
I'm
the game
out. This is
that I made.
absolutely nothing.
It's
I
just
don't
these
care about
dickheads
your
talking
cat
about a
and
cat.
where
That's terrific.
poos. We don't know. It's the first time ever. No, carrying on. Honestly, this game was a challenge, and it was a lot of reading and a lot of history. I feel like the world was well developed. I think when I'm going to take some liberties because I've watched no interviews, Mr. James Dearden, but I'm going to guess that you had a lot of this storyline and plot built out in your head. It feels very mapped out across, books and pages and lines drawing to connect things and who's who and what's going on. And it did fit together really well, I felt.
Yes, it's got a level of lore that is akin to like Laurie Cole. To what to almost like it's obviously two completely different worlds and genres as far as cyberpunk or fantasy, but whatever. That's not anyway. I'm gonna bloody be too pedantic back there, but yeah, it's the same type of just that certain thing that it takes to have lore, and it's really impressive. It's a very complex story, and it has like a for nerds by nerds kind of vibe. And I think that I hope they wouldn't mind saying that. And yeah, it's the game just kind of, I think the game takes an attitude when it comes to the lore and the vast amount of vocabulary. I shouldn't say vast amount, but the game does ask you to catch on to what's going on and just kind of like jump on a moving train and ride with it. And the opening puzzle in the apartment is really well done in a sense where it's kind of, I don't want to say it because it's not at all a tutorial, but it is an introduction to mechanics and to the world, and it's like a soft kind of introduction. I think Colossal Cave actually does a similar thing, because we were talking about that offline one day. But yeah, we just kind of get the vibe from the first puzzle that it's more to understand this new terminology in the world that we're in and the wetware, etc. So yeah,
and what world is that? That's the city of Newton. I guess we should say this Newton is like, it's all AI, like this gigantic computer. Its name is Central, kind of like does this government that runs over everything. So they're the authority, and they're the police force, and they're kind of the all-knowing. And then, as you mentioned, there's wetware, and I don't know what it actually looks like, but in my head, I kind of imagine it to be, or at least I can see it, but I imagine it to be very visceral feeling. Like it's mechanical, it's nano, it connects with your brain, and it puts you in this like VR internet, but it's like you're actually there, right?
In the trance. Yeah, exactly. And that brings you to, so I guess, as a quick setup, if you haven't played the game, we'll say a few things. Is that we're not going to spoil anything like the final ending spoiler stuff without notification. And if we do talk about the two endings, because there are different endings, then we'll warn you at that time. But for now, it's just like, this is a modern point and click adventure. It's from 2015, so we can't assume that like everyone's played it like we usually do with classics. So we won't go and spoil anything, because I do think that everyone listening, if you like point and clicks, should listen to it, right? It's redundant. You're listening to this podcast, so you should play it. Or maybe if you like really hate cyberpunk, then don't play it, because it's really cyberpunk, but it's freaking awesome.
Just seeing her alternative, satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta just see Ben Chandler's art, for God's sake. Just
so good.
Yeah, man, it's
beautiful.
It's just so beautiful, and it's. Yeah, I'll get it. We could get into that later, because I'll probably rant too hard on that. But just to say that the basic premise is extremely cyberpunk, like holographic ads. It's not so much like the dystopian, like post-apocalyptic cyberpunk that you might see in actually other Wadjet games like Shardlight or Gemini Rue. But it's
same
just
artist though for Shardlight, so you'll see some similarities
Gemini
in
too.
styles, but not necessarily in backgrounds or settings in the same way, because this city's it's thriving in its own way. Like, it's maybe not the ideal, of course, that we'd be looking for, but it's also not like a rundown mecca of, like you said, nothing. It is thriving. It has a working police force. It has governments that are in effect. It has good cities and maybe not so good places in cities, but everything's still functioning.
Yeah, kind of similar to, I guess, to Blade Runner, in the sense that they kind of go like the more mega corporation route, right? Where it's like there's the AI in the game is literally called Central. So like there is this like central force, and yeah, that would be spoilery. Also, stay away from that. But yeah, anyway, so I think that's the introduction to the idea of it. Then you've got Regis, who's an older Cell agent, and again, it's like they throw Cell at you with like a kind of keep up sort of attitude, where it's like, if you hadn't heard of Pinkertons and you've played Red Dead, and they're like, here's the Pinkertons, like you pretty much just catch up, like, okay, they're more or less police. We got it. But I'm saying that more as an example. Like, that happens a lot through the game. There's a lot of terminology and let's say lore that you won't know, and you just kind of you'll get it in context. Maybe not even the first time. And honestly, that was something I noticed critiques that I did appreciate, because they're just like, look, this is the way it is. This is this world. You walked into it, buddy. You'll catch on, and you do. And so I really like that. It is not very handholdy. And it does ask you, there's the terminology maybe is a little much sometimes, but that's probably me in the middle of a puzzle, frustrated talking.
There was a bit of that. Like I did sort of look up things to guide me here and there, but out and out, it was a fairly reasonable game. I did not, I mean, there was a few puzzles, especially towards the end. I'm like, no, I don't have time nor ability right now to sort this out. But fair enough, now that I've seen what it is, I see how I could have figured it out.
Right. Well, let's talk about the puzzles, because this game has a playability factor that you can play this game without a walkthrough. Would you agree?
Yep, I would agree for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got I don't know. Yeah. What was your favorite puzzle?
Yeah, my favorite puzzles were the ones where you combined personalities and then did the little circuits, and then you could change up how they behaved and who they were. And then the puzzle was essentially, it's like a 3x3, right? You have 3 different spots, and each one has an average about 3 chips. And then you switch them up between different personalities that you've kind of collided with your wetware and different electronic systems. And I thought it was creative, and it was funny, because the personalities that you'd mix together weren't like personalities that would generally get along, like your really serious bartender and then your kooky kitchen personality that's making you recipes, and it almost had like an anime flair to it. So it was really interesting.
It was, yeah. I was hoping you would say that one, because it's just like it's so like a self-aware, or so aware of like the world that it's in. Like it's really immersive. It's like, it feels like a cyberpunk puzzle. It feels like if I was there in 2083 or 60, I think it was 83, I forgot. If I was there, well, for a while from now, like what would be going on? And it's like, yeah, you got the kitchen maid, let's say, and then the bartender personality, and then the what would be a third one, like the bouncer, the security guy.
Yeah, the maid, the chef, the barman. That was
there you go. That was exactly right. See, and then it pulls up a GUI, and it sounds really complicated, but it's really not. It's just like a GUI, but it's really not enlarged, thanks to the art and how it's like,
it's beautifully rendered.
Yeah,
it's not text inspiring as much as it's graphics and just little words. You don't need much there, and the puzzle's so good they used it twice in the game. So.
Yeah, it is, and it's so good that it affected me on a personal level, because I like, when I played it and it was done, I was like, I had that, considering that I'm still in the middle of, well, at the tail end of developing a game myself. I'm like, damn, like I felt like a little bit of jealousy. It was so good, but I'm like, wait, you're not done making your game yet, and the lesson isn't obviously to like rip that off. My game's not even in the same realm of like to cyberpunk and technology, but it was more that the jealousy of it is like, that is the perfect use of your world and in puzzle form. It's like, it makes me excited to be in a cyberpunk world because of this exact sort of feeling. Like, it's really taking advantage of its environment and things like that just perfectly well. And so anyway, it was kind of like a good lesson, because I'm like, wait, you're not done making your game yet. You could still capture the spirit or the lesson, I guess, in this puzzle, which is like, again, it's using your atmosphere, using your environment and your game's special thing to make the player feel as much of, the uniqueness as they can, I guess, towards your story. In my sense, it would be like ethereal or, ghostly or whatever. But it's that well done, where it's just like, this is why we play, boys. This is why we lace up on Sundays, these kind of puzzles.
Every decision, there's really only 2 decisions that kind of affect any outcome in the game, and not to even reveal anything about either way, but how my feeling was on the decisions is, both times I thought I was making the right choice, and then after I made the decision and it played through, I was like, I'm not sure if I made the right choice. Like it had me on that, like there was no super real, thorough, right or wrong answer to these questions. They're all a
Right.
little questionable, right? But that's cool. I like that feeling. I like you making me feel a little bit unbalanced. Like usually when I'm reading a mystery or playing a game, I'm like, yeah, of course I know the right way to do it. You answer the right way all the time. You say the right thing all the time, right? And here I'm just like, whoa, dude, I just screwed some stuff up. I thought I was doing good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has that. It really has that feeling with some of the puzzles too, because things could worry. There's a little bit of like a wild card factor in the unknown technology. So it's like, well, this could work. I mean,
Mhm,
the wetware on this could
mhm.
potentially, and I was a little confused with like there's like the personality splitter, and then there's like a few things that I'm not sure I ever really not the splitter. That's a bad example. I can't think of the name of it though. It was like a
Hmm.
radio device, and I always forgot to use it or to check it. And
Oh, yeah, because you had to connect it up with systems so you could kind of control things
right,
remotely, but
right.
it
Thank
wasn't it
you.
wasn't, I didn't fully understand the concept of how to work it, where it went, or what to do with it at
Right.
first.
That would be exactly my exact complaint, and probably biggest complaint, because it was just like maybe that one needed just a little more nudging, a little more help, maybe a little more
Mhm,
explanation, because I just never really felt comfortable with it. So therefore, I kept disregarding it, and then it took me a few times to be like, okay, every time you get stuck, it's because you're not using this thing on like random systems, like even like elevator
mhm.
buttons. Like
Use
you really
things
have to
on things,
remember,
yeah.
like it's 100 years from now, everything is online, right? Just imagine it, and
Mhm,
it's not that hard to really get into that zone because of smart homes, let's say, where it's just like, yes, light
mhm,
bulbs are online now, so we can control them on our phone. So it's like we're kind of there, but we're obviously not. But it's enough to be like, just try and think like that, like smart home, like
mhm.
everything's online, like so you can connect to everything with this little thing and do stuff. And like you said, it's like, so once that clicked, I was able to move on. But yeah,
Satisfying noises though, right? When things would
really
go
good
online
noises.
or
Yeah,
offline, I really liked the
totally.
noises. I really liked, how everybody looked when they were, in the trance, the different personalities you had, like for, Latha and stuff. They just being a completely different person with the purple hair stripe, like the artist did a really good job of doing the alternate, like one person's just like a plain, this is who I am, I'm nobody, I'm here in the streets, nobody cares about me, versus a, here I am, I'm fabulous, like here's my online persona. And it was really, really good because, uh, the betwixt of the personality, right? It was
Nice.
intriguing.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was, yeah, and I guess a moment to just spotlight Ben Chandler. It's just I was thinking
Mhm,
about the kind of roots of origin for the Phantom Fellows game, and I was like, if I was to be like really specific for a minute, it's so much of Ben Chandler's work in specifically Golden Wake and Technobabylon and Gemini Rue has to do with me
mhm,
wanting to make a game. Like that's when it started like really simmering, and then you could say Thimbleweed Park would be the other one I'd add on to that mix. Between those games, like that's was like the reason I was like downloading Adventure Game Studio like years ago, like years before I would ever use it. Like just really flirting with it and dancing with it and like trying to commit or trying to see myself doing it or whatever. But a lot of that had to do with Ben Chandler's artwork, where it's just like it welcomes these games into the modern times with the lighting effects and things like that, and it's just beautiful. It's just fun to just stare at the screen, honestly, half the time.
yeah, the scenes, like the driving scenes or travel scenes or things where stuff
Oh my
is
god, the
going on in the
glass on the
background,
driving,
and
the travel
so good,
scene, the
so
glass
good.
off of the car.
Yeah.
Just in case Ben is listening to this, I just want him to know how much I appreciate the reflection on the glass on the car in the travel
Oh my
scene.
god,
It's mind blowing. It's like I do just mean like just a normal travel quick animation, but like just the way it's brilliant work.
yeah,
It's yeah,
4
it's
seconds
truly
tops,
artwork.
seriously, but, gorgeous.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's maybe eight to 16 frame loops.
It's not like
Just
Kathy
beautiful.
Rain, you don't have to, like, watch the travel happen a million times, it's not like, literally, you see this, like, twice in the game,
Dude,
right? This is not something you
I
see once
probably
through the
yeah.
floor.
That's very good of you to tell everyone, right? But I chose to stare at this travel screen for
Yeah,
like just what looked like
mhm.
really stoned amount of time, but it was actually just to
GIF it,
admire the
yeah,
artwork. Yeah, I was quite
yeah.
soberly admiring it.
It
um,
was the whole game, gosh. like I said, it's even if what you did in the game didn't entirely matter or affect the influence, there were Steam achievements directed towards specific activities. Like there was often 3 different ways to open a door or a bunch of different ways to do things, and it didn't feel like you didn't have control over things. It didn't feel as rote all the time as some games do. Like, of course, there's the
Right.
you have to click
Totally
through
agree to
everything.
that.
But,
I
yeah.
do. Yeah, there was, and that would be my only other critique. And this is just a personal thing, so I'm not even trying to rub its nose in it or beat it up for it. And listeners listeners to the show like regularly know that I don't really like the really simple interface, and I'm not going to go off on my usual rant about like there's not much left to do in an adventure game, even though I just kind of said it then like a child. But it's like this really brought that to light, and I didn't notice it on the iPad where I played a lot of it with my son. I did the last 3 chapters on the computer, and that's when it started to kind of annoy me again because I'm like, maybe I need more stimulation. Like I just need something more to do. It felt like a disconnect. Like they're just no. You really did say it best. There was a lack of control because it's just like I'm just gonna click and I don't really know what it's gonna do, and that is I guess the core of the issue with it, where it's like a loss of agency, where it's like, well, the game's gonna do what needs to be done right now, as opposed to me, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's the part of my brain that kind of fuzzes out a little, and I'm still reading the book. Like I'm reading the book. I'm reading the words in front of me, but it's like, you get through
Right.
a paragraph or 2 and you're like, oh man, what did they just say? But you can't go back. Like there's no way to often repeat once the dialogue option's done, it's done. So you can't see it again. So you're just like, oops, I guess I phased out a little. There was a lot of talking and I think I missed some stuff actually. Shoot. And the
Right.
autosave wasn't reliable. So
No,
I don't
well,
know
it's
how that
funny
works. It
because
was kind of an arbitrary thing. And I accidentally deleted one of my files because there was no like, do you want to delete? And I'm like, so I deleted it. And then I was like, oh, I'll go back to the autosave. And I'm like, why are you way the hell back there?
right. Right, that's interesting. Yeah, there was, I think we had the message about like the cool like little debug screen. So just for anybody listening, it's fun to know, and it's not discouraged from being known because it's a quick Google away. But Dave had said that they left the debugging in the game. So from the main menu, you can do Control T and jump around. There's like a little jetpack thing, and it's kind of fun. It's cool that they did that. I feel like it almost inspired me to not be so rigid. Like maybe I should leave something in there because it's just neat. It's like behind the curtain thing, but at the same time,
Maybe we should have. Yeah. My thought was totally unrelated. Maybe we should have watched the commentary. There's a commentary in the game. I haven't seen it yet. That if I was really planning, I would have watched that also.
So I had Strummer put it. My son put it on. Damn it, Lunchbox with the door. Strummer put it on, and I think almost by accident or whatever. But it was enough for me to look at it and be like, okay, I want to see this, but not on this game. Only because sorry, no offense to this game. It's just because that was already my second playthrough of the game. But I'm like, and I like Gemini Rue is a amazing game. Like Shardlight, I should go back and play. Like there's a few other Wadjet games I need to play a second time, perhaps, like as opposed to this one a third. But anyway, the point was like, yeah, I want to do this on one of their games. Unavowed, God, that game was so good. That would be a fun one, maybe to put the thing on. But anyway, yeah, it's cool. It made me like fantasize about doing it with Phantom Fellows, but it's like that's a whole lot of work. That's like I have a guy for that work. There's like a guy who just does art and just does programming, and it's like, I can't do all that.
Yeah, no.
Anyway.
How big of a team do you want to get at this point? No.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I guess.
Anyways,
should we? Where are we at with time wise? We're actually doing really good with time. We're only at 30 minutes, so. What else can we say? Oh, you know what? I want to say, just to be objective about the click interface, right? Because I like I said, it was the critique there is my opinion that I prefer like a little more to do, but I was checking out a review that Ikifu did. He's a YouTuber, doesn't do reviews anymore, I don't believe his channel's active anymore, but it's so good. I loved his channel so much. It's Ikifu. And if you like adventure games and like quick little 8-minute review things, man, his are great. And he was just saying, he's like, it has a 2-click interface. You left click, you right click, and he's like, and it would have been perfect if not for the fact that I had to click somewhere on the screen for my inventory. And so like that's just an example. Like I think I know that I'm the minority, and that is the majority. The majority of adventure gamers really don't want to click on shit. They're just like, give me just left click, right click. Why do I have to? He said in the video, and this was totally tongue in cheek, and his review was glowing. It was go buy the game, but he said tongue in cheek. He's like, I had to shove the mouse cursor at the bottom of the screen for it. And it's just like you could hear like the disdain of that type of adventure game where it's like, oh, I had to move my mouse all the way to the bottom of the screen and click again. And it's like, what are you making me do here? I'm trying to just be fed a story. It's like I still don't quite get that. But I mean, I won't do it again. It's just it is that type of adventure game, but I still played it twice, and I'm somebody who supposedly doesn't like them that way. So it's a great game, and that doesn't really hindered. I feel like I would have been more engaged otherwise, because if I zone out.
Yeah, I feel that. Just like I said, that little bit more of interactivity. But that's, kind of what I alluded to at the beginning when I'm like, I feel like this story was super mapped out and had been a long time coming to fruition. And I feel like a lot of it was just like, this is all of what's there. I really need to get it out there. So, and because not everything necessarily provided context to the immediate situation, but a lot of the extraneous information provided context towards the whole situation or where they were at or societally, or a little bit of like personal life, lore,
world building.
And I'm the kind of person. Yeah. Like when I'm playing a game like, say, Baldur's Gate or something, I tend to like take the little, say, Dragon's Age. You don't know, but it doesn't matter. They give you these little lore pieces of paper, and you can read them to like flesh out the story and kind of see more about what's going on. I don't read them. I collect the pieces of paper, and I'm like, wow, look at all those pieces of paper I have in there. But I don't actually read the lore contained within. So it's not always like my first go-to to know, unless I'm like super invested to want to know all the backstory. And there was a lot of it. And they did manage to make it interesting, but like I found the beginning of the game had more funny moments and like unexpected, like funny moments that were really cool. But then later on in the game, it was a lot more intense and kind of serious. And there wasn't like any humor happening so much at all anymore. So I thought there might've been a little bit more cartoony funniness, like the kitchen recipe girl or something throughout the game.
That's interesting. Right. Cause that does resonate now that you've said that it does from before the restaurant, probably from the lab maybe onwards, when you're trying to find that encoded plant, right? Somewhere like around there, it does get quite intense and stays there, and it is captivating. It's not in a sense to say that it doesn't really damage the story. It does change tone a little. It doesn't change tone. That's not fair. It just gets more serious. Right.
Because you get into the Jahilia and all that, like, oh, okay, right. Like there's these other sects and people are trying to take down corporations, and I wasn't sure her place. She seemed
I didn't
more
like her. I didn't understand her place exactly. Man, you're good.
She was, I felt she was kind of like, okay, and that's something I talked to you about this in chat, not here, but I felt like the story was fleshed out, the lore was fleshed out, but once it was all put into a game, there were certain elements of the game that didn't necessarily tie together. And I'm not saying that this character is one of them, but, it kind of gave me that idea that, this character had to tie a few things together, because without them, maybe the game wouldn't necessarily make sense without maybe putting in a lot more of something else.
Right, and maybe it's something that another playthrough with different approaches would possibly tackle. Because a good example was like Jahindra was like towards the end, and this wouldn't be with spoilers. It's not specific enough. So she says that like everybody's standing by. I just need your help with this. She's talking to Lather, and she's just like, I just we need your help. We're all standing by. We're going to take down Central, and then I chose the. Again, being really vague, this isn't really a spoiler. There's an option where you choose, you choose between two things, and the Central is one of the choices. That's as spoiler as this will get, and I choose Central, and therefore it's kind of you're on the side of Central. So like Ginger never gets to take it down, and it's never really addressed or where she goes. So it's like maybe in this, as I'm understanding on a personal level, it's like you can really see how the end of adventure games can get a little like this, quite often,
Mhm.
because it's like it's
Mhm.
such an undertaking, and you can, and there's so many paths for every decision. It's like it's incredible how much, I guess, work it is when you have to cover all these different angles. So I guess it might just be a case of having to bail a little bit on stuff like that,
Mhm.
where it's like, yeah, if we had 3 more months, we would have explained what Ginger was doing, but blah blah blah. Then it's like, fair enough, man. It's like I could totally understand that. Or, again, maybe I'm not being fair, and there is an explanation. It's just under a different path, or whatever. But yeah.
Mhm. Figuring out who's related to who and who is, because there's, a few of those bomb drops later on in the game, and you're like, "Oh," right? Like, it's definitely got a few of those that
Mhm.
even, I suppose, on the second playthrough, you'd have more of a grasp of what was going on just due to that.
Right, right, exactly. So that's interesting because, like I said, my first playthrough was only 3/4 of it, I only experienced that once, and that was cool. But I guess there's no sense. We really probably shouldn't even spoil it. We've made it through so much episode to give them a reason to play
I
it.
know, right? I feel like I'm being nice today. Usually, I'm like, "First 5 minutes, all right, here's what happened at the end." Now that
Right?
we've got that out of the way. Oh, people listen to this?
Yeah, look at us being
I'm
all
so
careful
sorry.
because it's a new one. It's
I
a new,
know.
it's a baby
I
game. It's
feel
new,
I feel tender about this game. I feel sweet
protective
on it.
almost.
I feel
Yeah,
like yeah, it's a thing that was really important, and I wish there was another one. I know they said that the second one, Paul, you called out that it was gonna have a different, format, right?
yeah. The second one was going to be 3D, right?
Yeah.
But Ben Chandler was
So
going to work on it, which was all interesting.
yeah.
And maybe, who knows? Because anything targeted in and around COVID, who knows? But
Mhm.
I guess I would say, like, as ultimate recap, like this game has like kind of like a legacy or life's work kind of vibe to it, to which I would say I would
Mhm.
be extremely proud. Like,
Mhm.
this is enough, man. Like, if let's
Mhm.
say if the game I'm working on does Technobabylon good, let's say,
Mhm.
or is received as Technobabylon, it's more or less the dream, man. It's like that's the adventure game dream is, if you for like one man's vision, who likely just wanted to make this point and click adventure game because of the games he played and blah blah blah. Like, for this to be the end product, it's amazing. It's like I would show people this, like how they did in the sitcoms with like the picture of your child in your wallet. Just shove it
Mhm.
right in the face. Like, look at my baby. This thing's incredible. Like, it's, yeah,
It
because
is.
it has that
It
vibe. There's
is.
so much lore, and there's so much care, and there's so much backstory, and I love dialogue heavy games, and
Mhm.
I love the superfluous, kind of information, especially when it's kind of veiled, where you're like, I don't know if it's superfluous. Maybe I do need to know this. Like, I appreciate all of that world
Mhm.
building tremendously, and like what it took to put this whole thing together. And it ends in a sense where it could go. It definitely is quite open to a sequel. So I think it would. I
Both
think it was
endings for
planned.
sure.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
It was, I think, I would say, because yeah, I can't now that we're this far, I can't even say, but either
Right.
ending that you listen to, there's a reason it could continue. I'm not sure. I'm thinking that the other ending where you anyways, one of them might be more canon than the other. We were just talking about that, right? How do you when you end a game, how do you
Right.
end it in a way that's canon so that when you start the next game, everybody's in the same place? Because you can't be like, okay, everybody bring your save files from the first game. This is not an
Right.
import like Quest for Glory, right? Everybody has to be at the same place and you have to have a reason for it. And if you have a game with multiple endings and you're caring about consistency and canon, that's kind of a big deal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. As we were literally just talking about in chat, where it's like, what if? Because in our scenario, it's like, what if the bad one isn't that bad? Like, I mean, it's not good, but
Mhm.
it doesn't scream like, this was it's not wrong, right? It's like,
Mhm.
it's not the wrong choice. So it's like, you almost want them to think that, so that, if they don't. But I don't know. Look at us, like, we both checked out both endings,
Mhm.
so it's like, I think most people will.
I think so. I mean, and it's
Adventure
pretty
gamers.
consistently, it's obvious where you're like, this is where it needs to save. If autosave doesn't save it here, I probably should, because it looks like whatever choice I make is going to affect the rest of the game. It's pretty clear.
Right. Right. Well, to the game's credit too, I wanted to mention that you can die in this game, and that's amazing.
Mhm.
And I thanked him.
Mhm.
Well, and that's not new for Wadjet too, because you can die in Resonance.
Yep.
So and then honestly, anybody playing like Shiva, like early Dave Gilbert stuff, he's very 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 Sierra influenced. I think Infocom is his favorite,
Oh,
but yeah,
gosh.
he's not a Lucas only kind of guy. So you can always see that in his games, which of course I appreciate. But yeah, I love that you can die in this game, and if you die, it's just like Resonance, it immediately restarts. God, Resonance is so good too, man. Yeah, you're gonna have to play Gemini Rue or Resonance. Wonder which
I have
one.
some work to do. I mean, I'm obviously at your beck and call because I played this, and everybody in my family was like, "Whoa, Mom, you finished a game!" I'm like, "Yeah, I finished it twice, y'all. I took notes on one of the endings."
And then we neutered that part of the show, it turns out.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. I think actually that's good. I don't know what else do you want to say about
No, I'm
it?
just going to say that
Because we're
Galatea.
releasing this like tonight, so.
Right, that's right. We have to hang up and put this up. I have one edit to make, I think, and that's it. I'm just going to say Galatea and Max Lau, because I wrote those down.
Yes.
I'm saying my notes. God damn it.
Good job, Paul.
Thanks. You too. What a wholesome ending. Aw.
Yeah.
We
No,
need
this works really well. Before I get into the ending, I want to take a minute to again nod out to the few but lovely people that have emailed and have sent in any kind of support, just saying, "Hey, I really like the show. I listened," or "Hey, I've been listening along with you," and writing about the opinions. Loyal, longtime, faithful Patreons and friends. This is really why we do this show. So, no, I'm lying. We do it because we have fun, but honestly, it enhances it when y'all do that, and it feels really good.
It's like an
so,
amphetamine in the neck. No, honestly, we should start responding to them, because this is the truth: is that we talk about the letters to each other in the chat, and we're like, "Oh, and then they said this," and so we'll spend like an hour in chat talking about it, and then you guys don't even know because we're the worst. But yeah, we'll work on that. Maybe I don't know, but but please keep sending them. We really do enjoy them and talk about them a lot. And also, quick shout out to Yak Wax Lips. He's got an awesome YouTube channel you should go check out. That's amazing. And if you like adventure games, you probably already do. But he's been on the show too. We've done an episode with him. So
yeah, look it up. Yak Wax Lips on. Just type it, CGG podcast, and then whoever it is that we've interviewed that you want to check it out, because there's some doozies back there, and it'll literally pop up first in doozies. It'll literally pop up first in your oot. I don't know what makes me sound Canadian.
It's adorable. Wow.
I don't even know what makes me sound like I do. Good.
Oh man. Okay, we've done shout outs. What else? Do we say anything more?
Yeah, this concludes today's episode of the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I hope you enjoyed our chat or our Babylon about Technobabylon. Nice. If you want to stay connected with us and stay updated to future episodes after this, you might not want to, but you can follow us on Twitter at CGG Podcast and Phantom Fellows. You can like us on Facebook, Classic Gamers Guild, and the Classic Gamers Podcast, because that's a page. And join us on Instagram at CGG Podcast. Send us an email. Mail at classicgamersguild.com. And don't forget to don't forget to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com Classic Gamers Guild, as a bunch of you already have. And you know what? We have some long-time Patreoners that have been supporting us for pretty much as long. Totally, man. You guys, y'all have been supporting us. You've, Jess and Josh and just so many wonderful people that I don't remember the names of, but like hardcore, longtime support. Really appreciate it if y'all make it to the end of the episode.
I might need you for beta testing if you still want to.
We do need more of those. So yeah. Don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a thing for science we need to know. We're kind of curious if you hit a button and then we automatically appear in your devices. That might potentially, because we've been staying at the same number of autos and then working our numbers up over time. But for science, hit subscribe. I'm curious. I'm going to look and see if the numbers change at all. We know y'all are listening anyway.
I feel like our show is really weird. Yeah, it's got like a really small amount of auto downloads, and then but it always reaches like the same number after 2 weeks. So literally curious at what subscribing does. So, we're not doing a manipulation on you. We're still not, there's not going to be no MeUndies or ads or money. Okay, people, don't do a murder.
I wish I had taken notes, but I was so
Yeah.
cocky because I talked to you and you're like, you don't need no notes. And I'm like, yeah.
No, what a bad
I don't need no
influence. I took notes. Why would I tell you not to? I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Good.